I love this topic.
I get so mad with this one in a good way. It's just like, get off your ass and help yourself. Like, sometimes that's all I want to say.
Hey guys, it's Bex here, and I'm here with my very good friend, Heather Waxman, who is an Amazon best-selling author of Body Peace, a book that you have to read. She is a spiritual life coach and a meditation guide. I'm always bringing on my competitors onto BEXLIFE, and we are talking about a very hot button topic that is basically the key to why you are still miserable and your life still sucks. Right, Heather?
Yeah, I was like, you're going to have to raise your hand and be like, honey, simmer.
I'll do that.
Okay, I'm gonna three things, because three is like what we can digest, right? So The first thing is that your spiritual practice isn't designed to make you blissful and happy all the time. Your spiritual practice is designed to wake you the hell up, because you need to wake up. So for the first 1 to 3 years, shit's going to hit the fan. I'm just going to be real with you. And the brave and courageous and curious people will say, okay, that's kind of scary, and I'm going to go ahead and do this anyway. And the people who are giving into fear and giving into resistance and have no interest in personal growth will not. And, you know, for myself, it was like the first 3 years were really, really hard. There were high highs and there were really low lows. Like sometimes to the point of like where I was experiencing such like an intense emotional detox that I would never, ever commit suicide. But it was so intense that I was just like, can you take me? Like, because there's so much coming up, and it's beautiful because you need to be cleansed out, because chances are you've been numbing for a really long time. People who come to us typically go through that sort of thing. So I think it's just important to be real. I don't want to sugarcoat anything. Like, it's going to be hard, but that's why we have communities like Bex's community on Periscope, like my community on Periscope, like Grace Smith's community on Periscope. That's why we gather, is so that we can support each other.
You said a key word in there, though. You talked about detox, and I just made a video about this, about the soul detox and why it hurts when you're trying to get better. Mm-hmm. And I use the analogy of a caffeine detox. And this is something that a lot of people could relate to, because so many of us have tried to get off sugar or tried to get off caffeine. And these are just the minor drugs. This is even the big stuff. So you quit the coffee, and for the next 3 days, you feel like you're going to die.
Right.
The headaches, the misery, the depression, you can't stand the light, all of those things. That doesn't mean that you've done something wrong. That doesn't mean that your body needs the caffeine to be healthy. You're purging something that's not good for you, and your body's resisting. And that happens with a spiritual detox as well. So as you're going through these big changes, as big stuff is coming up that you've never addressed before, it's gonna suck. But allow those to just be symptoms of something that's natural. It's a natural process, instead of warning signs. We don't have to be afraid of all the so-called bad stuff that comes up. Sometimes it's serving us, or it's an indication of something that's really serving us. So just go with that for a little while and don't give up.
Preach.
Right. When people go through a heroin detox and they're throwing up and they feel like they're dying and their body's like just rebelling against them, it doesn't mean that they need heroin. Even though the heroin, introducing it back, is going to feel great. They're going to feel instantly better. It doesn't mean that their body needs heroin. They just have to go through it to get to the other side.
Right. Exactly. Like when you feel those, if you're actually being consistent with your practice and you're allowing those emotions to come up and out of you, it's just unprocessed emotion that's coming up and out. Like, and the thing is that it's so easy, you know, for us and for our egos to sort of latch on to that and start to create stories from it, and really send us down like an obsessive, like over analytical spiral. And like, I get it. Because when you're in that space, like you're in that space, it's really hard. However, it's not all about you. Like, this is for you, but it's also for who you're going to serve in your life. Because once your vibration changes through that detox, that's going to percolate into all your relationships. It's going to make your life so much richer and more beautiful. And if you can really choose the brave path and choose the curious path, then you will experience that. And as you know, as I know, it's the best.
It is the best. And it's so hard to be patient, but it's something that we're asking you to do. and to remain curious and just have a knowing that there's going to be another side. We talked about this right before we went live about the process of me going through my book and how it's not getting easier writing it, and it's not getting easier thinking about the criticism that may come. So I had to have an acceptance that this process is just going to suck, and a knowing that there is going to be another side. There is going to be that time when I look back and go, okay, I lived. It was good. It was good for me. It was a beneficial process. So acceptance for the suck is super important. That's number one. Accept the suck.
Accept the suck.
Number two.
So the second thing is a Stephen Pressfield quote from The War of Art. He says, "The more important a call or action is to your soul's evolution, the more resistance you will feel."
Ooh.
That was taped when I was writing my book. That was taped on my wall. Every time I felt resistance, I was like, this is just a really important call to action. Yeah. My soul's growing here. Okay, I got this. Resistance is just a byproduct of your life. You can't get rid of it with spiritual practice. You can't meditate it away. You can't eat it away. You can't exercise it away. You can't have sex over it. You can't do it. It's going to happen throughout your entire life because that's part of our human experience. So we need to accept that that is a sign that you are growing, that you're like a bud, like blossoming.
That hit me in my belly. I'm stunned. That's great. I love that. That hit me. Perfect. Thank you.
Beautiful. You got it. No, for sure. I think that the closer that we get to, in quotes, I'll put this, the light, like that it's beyond words, that experience of God or the divine or whatever, through whatever we do, through me petting my little kitty on my lap. Like I feel my heart just opening and opening and opening every single day. And you know that from being a mom. But I think whatever comes into our lives that brings us towards the light, our ego really does come in that resistance in the form of the ego just tries to take us down. And instead of fighting that with more resistance, which makes us more miserable, we just have to recognize, you're here, I hear you, but I choose my call to action. My soul is growing. I choose growth. I choose curiosity. I choose bravery, you know?
And people, sometimes they misunderstand what we're saying when we're talking about ego. And people associate ego with bravado or thinking that you're super great or super confident. Ego is anything that just isn't God, basically. Mm-hmm. Isn't that like true, that true message of light and love? So my ego can tell me that I'm not good enough. My ego can tell me that I'm afraid. So the ego can say a lot of things to separate me from my mission. So I have to recognize that if it's not about love, if it's not about my true calling, if it doesn't make me feel good in a way that's wholesome and the way that supports me, then that's my ego talking. So I have to kind of like, with that.
I like that.
I see you, but you just gotta just be over there.
To the side because I have work to do.
All right. And number 3, the reason why your life is still sucking.
This is super uplifting.
It is. It's gonna help a lot of people. I'm telling you.
You just said it when you were speaking there. You are not separate, because your ego, your fear-based mind, would have you think that you are separate from love, separate from God, separate from anything. And when you create that state of separation, it drives you to into the spiral of I'm not good enough, and then you start looking for your completion in external circumstances. So in a relationship, in food, in Periscope followers, whatever it is, you know, and it's very sneaky. It's something that we all have to be conscious of. I always have to be conscious of this because I'm a human being and it comes up for me. Absolutely. Honestly, I've never had this problem, which has been really hard for me. And so I've been talking to my community a lot about this because I want to understand what they're going through. I've always committed to my practice. And I don't say that to sound like special. It's just like I always have showed up for it. And so what I imagine is happening, what I feel is happening with my community is that they feel this sense of separateness. They don't feel like they're worthy of being connected to an energy greater than themselves that's always available for them. And in those moments, it's so easy to like feel like that's not real. But I just wanted to remind you that you're not separate, that we're all connected, that you have to understand, as Yogi Bhajan said, you have to understand through compassion or you will misunderstand the times. You're not separate.
And compassion is interchangeable with connectedness, just like you said. So when we understand that we are connected to a whole, so we're not separate from each other, it kind of diminishes the fear of criticism, it diminishes the desire to compete, because who are you really competing against? Who are you worried about the opinions of? It's really about us looking back on ourselves and understanding that because we're in this together, because we're just, different parts of a greater whole, that we have nothing to fear.
And it's not spiritual entertainment. If this is spiritual entertainment, like, leave. I don't want you here. Sorry. But like, this is like,
that's so amazing. I love that.
Have fun. Like, get to work, y'all.
That's so interesting that you said that, because isn't that what so many people are doing? They're listening to the books. I listen to the books or read the books. If you're someone who's a really good student, you're going to all these, these events and these lectures, and you're doing the webinars, and you're hitting the retreat and whatever. And it feels like it's spiritual entertainment. It's distraction. Yeah. And it's kind of like you get that badge and you're like, I'm, a spiritual person. But if you're not doing it in the privacy of your own head and heart in your own space, then it means nothing. It doesn't do anything for you. So we want you guys to feel this stuff for real, not just for the time that you're with us. So coolio.
Conversation, babe. Woo.
It's so juicy. I think I need to eat a piece of pie. Unrelated, but I have pie in the fridge, so I want to go do that. Thank you so much again for shining your light on the BEXLIFE platform. My people so appreciate it. I want you guys to find Heather at heatherwaxman.com and also at Heather Waxman everywhere, especially on Periscope, where she is just amazing.
I'm off Facebook and off Twitter. I'm just on Instagram and Periscope and
Love
YouTube
it.
and YouTube and YouTube.
Okay. Well, we'll talk about why you're off Twitter and Facebook in a little bit. I'm going to let you go now. HeatherWaxman.com, Heather Waxman on Periscope, Heather Waxman on Instagram. I love you guys, and I will see you soon in another BEXLIFE video. Bye. Hey, everybody, I am here. I don't know why I just did this.
Jazz hands.